Hey everybody, it's 7:01. Let's get this show on the road. Thanks everybody for taking time tonight to join us for obviously an interesting update on where everything is at for the Calgary 2025 convention. Pleased to be joined by Craig Stokey, Mark Sterrett, the co-chairs of the HOC committee. I am Rob Wolfson, Chair of Learning and Development. This is being recorded, so for anyone that wants to share amongst their club, or if you have any members, please just direct them. It will be posted on the District 5360 YouTube page. Just give Charlene a few days and then we'll get it up there onto the YouTube. Really, we're here to obviously to get an update. We're 5 months out. Amazing. Clock calendars turn to 2025 and obviously everyone's super excited. So Craig and Mark are going to have some prepared statements and then we'll go through a Q&A session. You can either post either in the Q&A section on the webinar or in the chat, and I'll do my best to moderate both, and we'll go through and we'll get everybody's questions answered. We're scheduled tonight till 8:30, but obviously if you need to duck off, feel free to do so, but we'll try to get everyone's questions answered. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Craig and Mark. Take it away.
Craig, do you want to start with some introductory comments?
Sure. I just want to thank everybody for coming. It's really interesting that as we travel around the district and talk to Rotarians and business people, everybody's starting to get excited about this. You know, talking to the Calgary Downtown Association, the business groups. It's one of the amazing things about this convention in Calgary is that it is a big deal here. And you go to a lot of cities and Rotary convention may get lost in the noise of what's going on, but here it's a big deal, and we're going to really make sure that we make sure everybody feels comfortable, and a big part of that, and welcome, and a big part of that is participation throughout the district. So to everybody here, thank you very much. We look forward to answering your questions.
Yeah, and just a quick addition from my point of view. For 7 years now, we've been on this journey of going through the bid process, having been selected, and a lot of the great work. None of us as Rotarians could prepare if it wasn't for the immense amount of volunteers that have already signed up. People working on a variety of committees. Will give, as we answer the questions, we'll try to give a shout out to as many of them, just letting you know that it's taking a lot of people on a variety of committees that have helped move this forward to where we are today, and tons of work between now and June that will need to get done. And also, we have partners in the Tourism Association, as Craig has said, but also at Rotary International. They're working on 3-4 different conventions, an international assembly, and a whole wealth of other meetings at the same time. And they're putting in a lot of hours to help make Calgary a fantastic convention. So with that, maybe what I would start, just as the first question's coming in, Rob, is just give everybody an attendance update. So there are 2 numbers that we actively track. One is registered and paid, and the other is registered and unpaid. And oftentimes the registered and unpaid are ones that are waiting for a visa. They're yet to confirm their plans, whatever the case may be. And as of right now, we have just shy of 15,000 registered and paid delegates coming to Calgary. What is even more interesting is that we have more than that, an additional 15,000 and change that are registered but not paid. And so that number could be anywhere by the end of the convention. People that are brand new to the process to add to our 15,000 paid, that convert or are brand new. And Rotary doesn't think a lot of those in general. People tend to confirm until the very last minute, if they do at all. And it's a lot dependent on, some of them are currency restricted countries where they bring cash and show up and register on the day, pay on the day, and others are waiting for a visa, which of course we have no control over the process, other than the fact that we've kind of let everybody know the convention is coming to Canada, to Calgary, and to prepare at the Government of Canada to process these things as quick as possible. We have some questions, Rob.
All right, here we go. No questions yet, actually.
We answered them all?
No,
Yeah, so far.
I did see one. Bill Quinney asked earlier whether we'd be discussing pre and post tours. And this is a process that has gone on far too long, but we believe that we're coming very close to the end of the process. And so for many years, and I give credit to Bill Quinney at Calgary West, was the first individual to stand in line and say, I think that it would be great to go into the Olds area, partnership in Olds College, to have Rotarian delegates from all around the world have the opportunity to interact with Rotarians in and around those clubs and to learn more about vocation and agriculture. And so there are 8, I believe now, what we are calling vocational and fellowship tours from throughout the district. And they fit into 3 different categories. Number 1, Rotarians from Lethbridge, from Olds, from Red Deer that are putting forward vocational tours that they would like to put forward. A lot of those have very detailed itineraries, overnight stays, buses transporting people from A to B. And then we have Calgary Economic Development, who is part of our Rotary Civic Partnership, which is an organization that has said, we want to highlight some of the great things that are happening in Calgary. And so they've put forward an innovation tour as well as an education and health tour. And so the only thing preventing us from getting those on our website, promoting them, and finalizing the logistics is we need a back of house supporter, meaning an organization, a club, a entity that is going to be taking the cash and making the logistical, a travel tour company, a logistical finalization. And we're down to 2 finalists for that. And we should have that within 10 days to 14 days of confirming which direction we're going to go in that. And then we'll move very quickly to get those tours finalized and on promoting, especially before the March 15th deadline. And so stay tuned for that. Thank you for your patience for those that have had applications in for a long time now. We haven't forgotten about you. We've wanted to make it a priority, and soon it's coming. I'll tell you one of the reasons why we're so adamant about it. We don't want our Rotary District or the HOC taking any financial risk. As you know, with our pre and post tours that were the travel tours, we partnered very early on the Singapore launch with Anderson Tours. And they actually had on their website that they had made a small mistake where they had priced something in Canadian dollars versus American. As you know, the exchange rate is huge difference, 44%. And they had an Australian couple that signed up, paid for a large, very expensive tour. And Anderson actually had to made the decision, I should say. They didn't have to. But for our partnership and for a whole bunch of great business reasons, they chose to honor the Canadian dollar and probably are taking a loss on that tour. So that's one of the reasons why we felt that when we add to the vocational tours, we offered Anderson the opportunity to participate. They decided that they're actually going to add Indigenous travel tours, which will also in the next 30 days be put onto our website for delegates to be able to select. And they chose not to participate in the aspect of our vocational tours. But very excited about both of those tour packages just as an added value to our delegates. And of course, on the vocational tour side, an opportunity for fellowship and sharing more about businesses and industries in our district.
Okay, we do have some questions rolling in. How will volunteers be advised of their assignments and schedule?
Rick, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can. Thanks, Rob. The current plan is that starting probably next week, we're going to send out a monthly update to all of those that have signed up to volunteer to date. And likely it will be in mid to late May where we'll actually hopefully finalize the schedule requiring all of the volunteers. And at that time, they will be able to sign up for their specific interests, dates, and times. And we're looking for a minimum of 1 4-hour shift for each of our volunteers. Does that answer your question?
Right. So Leona, if you need more information, just put more details in the chat and we'll get it answered. Next question. With the 15,000 registered and paid, are the signature events sold out?
They're making a lot of great progress, pardon me. We're very excited that we're going to have another update of videos that are now specifically what is going to be happening at some of our signature events. And if you recall, we had great videos, and we're very grateful for our video provider, who Craig will mention because I'm forgetting the name, but fantastic videos that set the stage for giving people a glimpse, especially our global visitors, giving a glimpse into all of our signature events. But with Mark Ambrose, chair of our signature event committee, having started contracting some of our acts, we'll be even more specific in updating those videos. And I think that we should see attendance build dramatically for that. In addition to that, one of the things that we're trying to learn, RI continues to tell us, is that the majority of signature events at virtually every other convention for the last 30 years are very, very slow to start and have a large majority of the ticketing that comes in the last 30 days. And so we're ahead of the curve in the fact that we have all of our signature events that have been robust. They've been available since Singapore, which is the first time in forever, if at all, that signature events were available at the previous convention. But we're just so excited about a lot of the work that is being done and the progress that's being done to move those forward, right?
Yeah, the name that you're looking for is Steve Mason from Talking Light Media. And Steve's been just amazing in helping us out. Yeah, these events, like Mark said, RI tells us that Rotarians are late to the game for booking. But one of the things that we are really proud of is that Mark Ambrose and his team have been able to put together some really spectacular, amazing events. Very Calgary, very showing the Western heritage, and you take a look at the grandstand show that we're having. There's going to be lots of seats available for that. Host hospitality is filling up very quickly. Last numbers I saw is I think we have about 1,700 people who have registered to host, and we're at about 1,500 people that have paid to attend. So that's really on target. And yeah, I think that we're really, really proud of the events and think that they will be going close. So if you're looking at tickets, get on it now.
Okay, next question. How do I find out how many people have registered from my club?
So District Governor Christina does get weekly reports about that. What it will do is it'll give you the numbers, but it won't actually give you the names of people, and that's because Rotary really treats privacy very, very important. So what we can do is through the district governor, you can look at getting it out to the clubs if you're interested, and through the AGs and such.
Yeah, just small clarity on that. So most of the names are going to be on there if, when we registered, we clicked that we wanted to share that information. So oftentimes there's a disconnect between the number that's associated with the club and not all of the names adding up to that number. And the difference is the people that have clicked maybe they didn't even know they were clicking it, not to share the information. And so as Craig said, Governor Christina, through the assistant governors, just reach out to them and they'll be able to give you, for your club, all of the people that have registered, but there might be people missing on that list if they chose or inadvertently chose to not have their name shared.
Yeah. Next question. Hearing through the grapevine that hotel rooms could be a real challenge. Any contingency planning regarding hotel rooms?
Yeah, so that's something that we, along with Rotary International, have been working really hard on. What happened is early in the bid, we contracted out some hotels who had given us a block of rooms, and right from the get-go, we were really successful in signing people up, and a lot of the downtown hotels went away really quickly. Now, today, if you look at the site, there's a lot of you got to keep on refreshing. Here's an example. A couple of days ago, I was on the site, and there were 3 hotels showing on our site with the cheapest room rate of $461 through the Rotary block. An hour or so later, there's 8 hotels on there with rooms as low as $145. And then a couple hours later, there's 6. So what has happened is there are people that early in the game, they went and booked off, a couple of rooms because they wanted to leave their in different hotels because they wanted to leave their options open and find out where their friends are. Maybe their situation has changed and they're dropping some of the rooms. So we do recognize that is an issue. One of the things that Rotary is doing and being very proactive about is they are looking down the list of people who have canceled the registration but have not yet canceled the rooms. And they figure that there are a lot of rooms in that. So they're going to be sending out an email in the next week or so suggesting that you have a very short fuse in order to either register or you're going to lose your room. The other thing is I see a question here about Mount Royal University and such. Yeah. So one of the things that the district has done is made an arrangement with Mount Royal University to contract out 300 rooms. Now, these are hotels that are dorm rooms, but they're pretty nice. It's not like sometimes people think of dorm rooms and they think it's just a mattress and a toilet, and it's not. Some of these rooms have 3 bedrooms, some of them have 4, some of them have 2. And what they're doing is you can get a room for about $60 per night. And what we're doing is we're encouraging Rotarians from within 5360 and 5370, if you're outside of Calgary, to consider those options to free up the Rotary block. But also it's an opportunity to have everybody together. A lot of the transportation issues go away because most of the Rotarians that are going to be here have cars and to get themselves to the LRT station and such. So I guess to sum it up, we do recognize that there is some limited rooms. However, we do anticipate that is going to be a lot looser as we within the next week or so. One of the other things that they're doing is expanding the room blocks search out to some of the bedroom communities, Airdrie, Cochrane, Okotoks and such. So in the next week or so, you will see that that'll be a lot better opportunity.
Okay, and low cost accommodations, I think you probably addressed that as well, but maybe to comment.
Yeah, that would be MRU. That would be MRU. As far as hotels, when they come back on, I think that the average room rate or the lower end room rate in Calgary is still going to be about $150 and up. And part of that is because of the demand in the city. A week before our convention, the G7 is in town, in Kananaskis. But what is happening is they're bringing about 6,000 to 8,000 media people and support staff and that sort of thing, which are going to be staying in Calgary. They're not going to be staying out in Kananaskis. Then we have the Stampede on the other shoulder. So there is a lot of stuff going on in the city. So we were fortunate that we have the rooms that we do, but there are also opportunities to look at VRBOs and Airbnbs and Expedias and Travelocities and such.
The other two things that I just mentioned just as thank yous. So you'll notice in the chat that this person called Rotary is providing links and answers as Craig and I are talking tonight. And I just want to give a special thank you to Linda Morris, part of our HOC executive, who is really the glue that keeps our whole committee together, taking notes for everything. And she's the one on Rotary that is helping us out today, just sharing this information and the links as we continue to talk. The other thank you that I would say right off the top as it relates to the updates on hotel rooms and things like that is we have a fantastic promotions committee led by co-chairs Miriam Mitchell-Banks and Darcy McAtishan from Red Deer. And the reality is that they have a growing number on their committee that are supporting them. RI has a promotion committee chaired by Amanda Wendt, who was the governor in Melbourne during their convention, and she was asked to be the overall promotion chair. And she has in every zone, she has a individual from all around the world that are zone promotion chairs. And all of these folks, in addition to Amanda, have said that our HOC promotions committee, from a support, from a quality of the information, from a timeliness, is the best HOC promotion committee that they've ever seen. And so it's in large part because of both Miriam and Darcy and doing decks and setting us up for presentations all around the Rotary world, literally in simultaneously translated Zoom meetings and things like that. So special thank you to Linda, Darcy, and Miriam.
I'll throw in there as well, Tourism Calgary. They have been absolutely amazing supports right from day one, from preparing the bid, through the bid process and right through today. And the Calgary Hotel Association has been tremendous support. You know, like I say, we're getting a lot of support from throughout the entire community here, and a lot of thanks has to go to them for the promotions they're doing as well.
All right, back to volunteers. Where do we stand for percentage of committed volunteer shifts versus amount needed?
That's a good question. Short answer would be we're probably 50 to 60% of the way where we want to be. At the beginning of this journey, which was probably close to a year ago now, we were looking for 1,000 plus. The plus has grown. Right now, we're pretty much on about 1,600 volunteer shifts or volunteers. So if everybody does one shift, then we need roughly 1,600. And we're at, when we combine Rotarians and third-party volunteers like Calgary Stampede, Synovus, Tourism Calgary, we're currently very close to 900 volunteers. So we're getting there, but we got more work to do. Thank you.
Okay. Are we billeting delegates?
So the short answer to that is no. We have had a few different requests for young people that may be coming, Rotaractors or youths that may be coming from different districts, reaching out to our district friendship exchange person. And the other thing that I would say about that is one of the reasons why we came out with the Mount Royal, and the cheap price for that is so that Rotarians would not need to open up their homes. We did not want to go into, once upon a time, we put it out there, hey, should we consider, it was a big part of 1996. As we get closer and depending on the hotel situation, we may, and a very strong may, explore something like that. But it's a huge administrative nightmare to organize. And so both the HOC and the district said, yeah, we don't think that we're going to do that. If information changes in the coming months, we'll look at it again. But the few times that we have looked at it as a possibility, we've chosen not to go down that path.
And just to expand on that, and I saw the question in the chat about transportation. So what happens is if somebody signs into the Rotary block hotels, they are guaranteed transportation to the event. Now, another thing is anybody that has a badge gets to use the Calgary Transit as well. But one of the disadvantages to going out and putting people in homes is, you know, we need to be very cautious about thinking about how are we going to get people around and to the train stations and to the park and that sort of thing. So ideally, we can host as many people as we can in the Rotary block, and otherwise in hotels that do have good access to public transportation.
Okay. Someone's asking about cowboy hat. Can you advise of the financial situation for the convention at this point, specifically with regards to cowboy hats for visitors? Do we have enough? Can we get more?
Yeah, let me start with the financial stuff. And again, kudos to our treasurer, Grant McEachran, who helped us through our initial budgeting process, as well as keep us on a straight and narrow of how we're doing. The way that the HOC makes revenue, and don't forget that once upon a time when we won the bid, one of the reasons and principles that we said is we were not going to, like many Rotary conventions do, pass the hat amongst district dues or requesting funds from the district. We thought that when it came to it's very expensive, even for a local district Rotarian to sign up to the convention. We said we don't want to be our hands in the cookie jar of that. And so revenue for the HOC comes from a few different sources. All of the ticketing revenue for all of our signature events, the revenue from host hospitality, but really that's not for anything to do with the actual host hospitality. It is only for the transportation to take people out of town for some of the clubs that are hosting us. Sponsorship, we get a percentage of the sponsors that we refer in, and as well the booths, the commercial booths, we get a percentage of that we refer into that process. So all of those pluses add up and they go against the cost of us putting on all of the signature events, the transportation, all of the uniforms for our volunteers, and a wide variety of other expenses. And so specifically the hats, and then Craig, I'm leaving the opportunity open maybe for you to talk with the legacy in terms of the budgeting process and kind of what we want to do with that. But the hats have been on our website since day one. We're very fortunate that we received a very generous price from our friends at Smithville, who months ago we decided to go with in terms of ordering our hats. And so we have more than enough hats for every delegate that wants to go on to the HOC website and buy a hat. It's $35 US, and anyone can do that. And we hope all of our delegates from around the world, we saw it in Singapore, we saw it in Orlando at the International Assembly. They are a hot item. And the promotions committee is going to kind of get the news out there in terms of the hats, because we would love to see every delegate wearing one of our iconic white hats when they come to Calgary. Right?
Yeah, so the way that, if you take a look at the way that a lot of conventions, Rotary International conventions have gone in the past, their goal is to break even at best or lose as little amount of money as possible. And one of the ways that they have funded it, like for example, Toronto in 2018, what they did is they charged the Rotarians for 4 districts in Southern Ontario, and each Rotarian paid a monthly fee to go towards the convention. One of the reasons that we worked so hard to earn the right to host the signature events, and I say that because that's not something that Rotary typically allows the host cities to do now. We felt it was very important for a couple of reasons. One, because we experientially can provide a really unique opportunity to have some really cool events, which we are. but also it does give us an opportunity to raise some money, which what we want to do is we are going to be spending the money, as Mark said, on some of the operations of running the convention, but we're also going to be spending the money on experiential throughout the convention. So for an example, one of the things we're looking at is doing stampede breakfasts and those types of things. So we want to make sure that when the guests come, that they have lots of stuff to do and that they can really enjoy themselves, not just on the convention, but throughout the experience of the city. At the end of the convention, we said right from day one that our goal was to leave a sizable chunk of money in the community. And that would be something that we always talk about this being a Calgary convention, you know, because it's held in Calgary. But right from day one, Mark and I have always talked about it. It's really a District 5360, and that's the way that we look at it. It's a convention that happens to be held in Calgary because we have facilities here, but we really want to engage the clubs and the members all the way throughout our district and have them share in the experience, share in the opportunities to have community events within their area, to raise money, to use it for membership opportunities. So as we figure out what our financial legacy is going to be at the end of the convention, we are going to be sitting down and finding out the best use of that money to spend specifically within our district.
The other thing that often comes up, just Rob, as you're teeing up the next question, the often things that come up is how does Rotary International make money on the convention? And what we know to be true, and we'll verify this when I'm in Orlando at the International Assembly on February 8th, is the convention every year is done on a cost recovery basis, which means if we have a boon in registrations between now and March 15th, or because of our strong registrations already, all of that money gets put into the experience of the convention, be it added benefits and lounging areas or speakers or entertainment or whatever the case. And so there's a small amount every year for successful conventions that get put in a kitty of a contingency fund, but it's a very small amount just for those conventions that end up, for whatever reason, losing money, that they're not having to take from the money that does such great work that Rotary does. But vastly, the overwhelming majority of all the revenue that's generated from Calgary goes right back into the Calgary Convention.
Okay, there's a couple more questions around cowboy hats.
Yeah.
So if you're volunteering, do you get a hat? Do you have to buy a hat? Can you wear your own hat? So
there will be a uniform, and Craig and I and members of the executive have seen, in special thanks to our volunteer chair, Fareed, and I can't remember, I forget the name of the lady that is his key person when it comes to uniforms. But we know, without giving any details, because I don't want Rick to pass back to Fareed, or Fareed's on the call to be upset with me, there will be a cowboy hat that is differentiated from the one that everybody has, and a vest. Thank you. Leslie Sims is that key person. Thank you to Stephen Sims, who may be Leslie Sims under a pseudonym, but thank you, Leslie. You're right. Thank you. Leslie has been the one handling uniforms, so there will be a hat that is differentiated. And the only thing that I'll say at this point in time is there will be a vest as part of that uniform. Other than that, and I'll let the volunteer committee share the specifics of all of that in due course, because there'll be a bit of an unveiling, and how you would get one, and if you're entitled to get one based on how many shifts. I know that's still being finalized, but the key being that volunteers will have the ability to wear those things to proudly support the fact that they're volunteering at our convention.
And while we're talking about volunteers, one of the questions that has come up was, can I, volunteer and as a result of that, participate in all of the events without paying? Well, no. And the reason for that is because all of the Rotary events are going to be held within the BMO Center or the Saddle Dome, which is, we are going to have very, very limited local volunteers that are going to be supporting that. The volunteers that are going to be there are Rotary International volunteers, that sergeants that come to convention after convention after convention. Most of the volunteering that we're going to be doing locally is going to be experiential. It's going to be wayfinding, making sure that people feel welcome at the airport, the hotels, the train stations, pointing them in the right direction, doing our signature events and those types of things. So one thing that I caution people is, don't just go and sign up to be a volunteer with the thought that you're not going to have to, buy a registration for the convention, because you will miss out on that opportunity. This is a once in a generational opportunity to really have something like this in our back door. And I just encourage everybody to, if you're going to volunteer, go and do a shift or two. And that's, we are having volunteers from all over the world. People from Europe and Australia are saying, I want to be a HOC volunteer when I get here, because they want to participate in that type of experience. But also we tell the Rotarians from 5360, help us out, volunteer, but be part of the convention. Go and register and take in the plenaries and take in the House of Friendship and the breakout sessions. It's going to be an amazing event.
Questions around volunteering, just about, is there a way to pick specific shifts? Is there a link that you're supposed to go to do that? Or is it just assigned? Like, how does that work for getting shifts?
Can I answer that?
Please.
Yeah, not at this time. What everybody's signed up for now is just an expression of interest to your willingness to volunteer. The shift schedules are, I can say, are a work in progress. I put that in the chat. Right now, we're looking at probably mid-May when we'll release what we hope will be the final shift schedules, and then everyone will be sent the link to sign up for their specific dates, times, and venues that they want to work at.
We do have some specific needs leading up to the convention as well, like in the planning stages today. We have some need with technology specifically, and we can use, I'm sure that Miriam and Darcy wouldn't turn away any help on the promotion side. We are looking for somebody to lead, as well as a committee for youth and family participation. What else are we looking for, Mark?
I was going to say that's a lot of the ones that we've been doing recently. And how we're going to be doing that, of course, is through our monthly newsletter, and through the volunteer emails that Rick sends out and Fareed sends out to all those people that have already signed up with an interest in volunteering, if there's anything specific that comes up between now and then.
Yeah, the other one was community engagement. Going out and making sure, bringing the convention to Medicine Hat and to Lethbridge and some of the other cities throughout and towns throughout the district. And this is not going out and actually going and trying to plan the events, but working with the clubs that are within the communities and encouraging them to put on their thinking hats and see how they can leverage the convention to their benefit within their community. So if you're interested in any of these types of roles, just reach out to us through the website or leave your name in the chat or send us an email after.
Can you volunteer in pairs? Rick, maybe that's a question for you.
Yes, as long as when you get the opportunity to select your preferred shift, date, and time, you do it together.
Perfect. Maybe circle back to transportation. I know you touched on it earlier, Craig and Mark, but maybe can you just touch again just about, there's more questions just about busing from the hotels, but also from Mount Royal University. Can you just maybe touch on both of those?
Yeah. So what we know for sure at this time is that if it is part of the official RI block, there will be one of two things that are provided. Either bus transportation to the convention site down on Stampede campus, or to the nearest LRT station to the hotel. So say, for example, all of the buses that are going to be picking up at the airport hotels. We've not seen the final transportation plan of whether that's dropping you off at, say, the zoo for you to head down the LRT going downtown, or if it's going to bring you right down to the convention center. But if you are signed up to an official RI Block hotel, then you will have transportation provided. And it's so wonderful that any delegate has a Calgary transit pass, whether it's the LRT, whether it's a busing system, Access Calgary. If there's those with accessibility issues, that's all going to be free of charge with your registration. And anything that is outside the city, Mount Royal, it's that we don't have confirmation of plans yet. And so as of right now, there are 30 rooms, I believe, out of our 350 block the last time that we checked, that Rotarians had signed up, delegates had signed up for those rooms. Nothing planned yet. But if we have 300, 350 of those rooms taken up as we get closer, I can only imagine how we're going to be able to do that.
Home hospitality, how's that initiative going? Is there still need for home volunteers?
Yeah, specifically home volunteers. Whenever we talk to anybody in the Rotary world about Calgary and the 1996 convention, there's a couple of things that really pop up. Everybody says it was the best convention ever, and you say, why? It was the opening ceremonies, and they talk about the home hospitality, host hospitality. And one of the things that Calgary did very, very successfully back then is they put a lot of people, guests within individual homes. In the last number of years, Rotary, throughout the other conventions, it's gone to a lot more bigger events and those types of things. And there is a great opportunity, and some of these larger events are amazing, and but there's also, just the intimacy of being able to be in somebody's home. And what a lot of people are doing is they're going together. So you have a couple of Rotarians within a club, and they're saying, look, I'll go over to your house, and together we'll have 6 or 8 people. And, that way I can help you with the cooking. We can help you, with the transportation and get our kids involved and that sort of thing. So yeah, there's home hospitality is always, in most conventions, there's more guests and more interest in being a guest than there is places to eat. So, if that's something that's of interest, Pat Newman has done an amazing job, and she's the one that's organizing that. Reach out to Pat, and she can answer any questions that you have about logistics or express some interest. You can do that actually through our website, through the Rotary Calgary2025.org website. That is where you'll find information on our tickets for our signature events and host hospitality, and some information about cowboy hats and some of the things that we're doing.
Okay, there's a question just about both registrants and volunteers that have health need. Will there be information and help for people that have health issues, both on the registrant side and the volunteer side?
I'll let Rick answer on the volunteer side, but yes, absolutely. As part of the registration, they ask things about accessibility in particular. If you need an adaptive device, or are you a wheelchair user, things like that. That is part of the registration package. And so I know that in general, Rotary pays strong attention. As many of you on this call know, my son Alex is a wheelchair user, 16, is planning to fully embrace the convention. And we've been assured, and we've been part of planning where those that are wheelchair users, those that have limited mobility, have walkers, whatever the case may be, The only issue we have is, as we know, our Saddle Dome, where the plenary sessions, opening, closing ceremonies are going to be happening. There won't be able to be much, if any, floor access for those folks in those situations. But there will be a limited amount, because of just the age of the building, a limited amount of accessible seating in that venue.
But yeah, that is one thing that Rotary takes very serious, right from the initial bid. There's a lot of questions, and every time they come to the city, that's one of the things that they're investigating and seeing how they can fix. Rick, do you have any input on the volunteers?
Other than the fact that there is a volunteer training package in the works being put together, and that will be released in advance to all volunteers. And I'm sure we'll answer these type of questions and more.
You mentioned, Mark, about the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
Do you know, is there like a morning and an afternoon session? Do you know that currently?
Yeah, so we've seen the tentative programming, and what we know is that there's going to be 2 equivalent. So they basically go through the opening ceremonies twice. That is currently being planned because of the number of registrations that we have. We are going to be having more registrants than can probably be in all in one setting, keeping in mind that, don't forget, a lot of the stage takes up, like people would say, oh, well, until we get above 18,000, why wouldn't we have that? Well, we don't have 18,000 seats because of the staging for the opening ceremonies. So there's planning to be 2 opening ceremonies, 1 closing ceremony, and then a plenary session at the Saddle Dome every day.
Awesome. I know that was the same in Singapore as well. They had 2 different sessions. Students 18 years and younger, are they able to attend all sessions?
Absolutely. If you're a registered delegate, the only thing with the below 18 is that Rotary is set up because there needs to be an adult that signs the application. Whenever, and we've had to do this for Alex as well, being under 18, is you need to actually fax in the registration. So you can't do it online. It's not simple to do because you need to sign off as a parent or guardian and then send it in. But absolutely, once a registered delegate, unless there's an area that's going to be selling alcohol, you're going to be able to go into every single thing that the convention has to offer, regardless of whether you're 16 or 90.
Might be an RA question, so I'm not sure if you know, but have dignitaries been invited to take part in the program?
Yes.
There you go. Question about we're starting to plan for a host evening just outside the city limits. I understand the bus accesses if you have 50 seats. We will have 50 places available, but what happens if 50 people don't actually sign up?
Great question. One of Pat Newman and her committee's first things is they will fill up the outside of the city ones first, so that we have, for the richness of the experience, whether it's Canmore or High River or wherever. And the 50 number is important because that's what fills a bus. And so we get to allocate and match up the individual people to the experience. And so we'll make sure that there's basically 50 people that are on a bus that are going to be going out to John, to your event.
Now, I know there's no discon this year because of the convention. Do you have any information on the after party?
Yeah, there will be an after party. Sorry, Craig, were you going to say it? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Oh, so there will be an after party. The idea being is that it would be immediately following the closing ceremony. So think on the last day, kind of that 4 to 7 window, where we would have bubbly and appetizers and an opportunity for all the volunteers and local Rotarians to get together to say thank you to a bunch of people and to pat ourselves on the back after a wonderful convention. Just a fantastic experience for all of it. And we are sourcing venues right now, trying to keep the costs as low as possible and for it to be within walking distance of the convention center. So there's a committee, Governor Christina has a chairperson that's been challenged with this responsibility, but the entire HOC executive, including our liaison to the HOC and the district Luann, and everybody is all focused on that right now. We actually spent quite a bit of time at our last HOC executive meeting talking about it.
Okay, this is, sorry, again, just making sure all the questions get answered. So going back to the home hospitality concept, will private home hospitality guests be assigned on a random basis? Or are they trying to get them assigned closest to like their hotels and where they're staying?
Yeah, so that's one thing that Pat and her team are going to be doing, is trying to put people as close to their hotels for convenience purposes possible. You know, again, if people are going out of town, that may not necessarily happen all the time. You may not be going to an event that's closest to your hotel, but that's one of the criteria for sure.
Great. Can you speak to the membership drive event happening to the lead up of the convention?
What was the question, sorry?
About the membership lead up drive?
So basically what Rotary International is doing is they are coming into Calgary, and they're going to be having an event down at the Sam Center where they're going to have some Rotarians speaking to potential members. I think that they're targeting, about 150 people, where you can just intimately ask questions, find out about Rotary, and some of the good work we do. One of the legacies, when we talk about legacies that we really want to have as a result of this convention, is, you know, as Rotarians, we do amazing work throughout the community, but we don't necessarily talk about it. And everybody on this call has friends and family that know that you're a Rotarian, but they don't even know what Rotary is. So starting, I believe, in March, late March, early April, there's going to be a media blitz that is going to be hitting the city to start bringing awareness of the upcoming convention. It'll give our clubs an opportunity to, you know, showcase some of the work that they're doing, to communicate and talk to people throughout the community that we wouldn't normally be able to engage, you know, getting the media and that sort of thing. And the district convention or the promotions chair, Chad Haston, and his team, they're looking at this from the standpoint of, we're not just looking to load up and get some publicity leading into the convention. We want to use the convention as the launch, you know, building up the awareness. And then once we have our guests coming here and we're having, you know, the media and all of the pompous and fantasy about the convention, that should be the launching pad of, you know, keeping that going and making sure that everybody has an opportunity to learn about Rotary and to have those conversations with people that we wouldn't normally have an opportunity to talk to.
Yeah, and kudos to our district membership chair, Jeff Foss, and our past district governor, Dan Doherty, whose role it is at a zone level as a Rotary coordinator to help kind of promote and put on that, along with the budget that Rotary International puts into it. And they've done this at every other convention. And so stay tuned for more information on how we can filter all of our potential folks to learn more about Rotary and get excited about joining one of the clubs in our district.
Can you speak to, or do you have any knowledge of international registrants having visa problems?
Yes. Number one, there's a massive amount of people in the queue, as we mentioned earlier, and each country has a different process. In addition to that, we are not allowed, nor is RI allowed, to advocate on behalf of individual visa requests. But what we've done is the HOC executive attended the consular dinner where all of the honorary councils in the province of Alberta from all the different countries attended a dinner. We showed up on that just to be able to say, hey, big event coming. We also have contacts in the federal government in that area where we're not able to advocate on behalf of individuals, but we said, hey, this is the list, this is where they're coming from. Please staff up, please prepare. And we've been given every assurance that it's going to be taken very seriously. And we did a little bit of education, meaning that like Rotary is not just, even though there's always people for any of these conventions, Rotary is no exception, that try to take advantage of getting an invitation letter or whatever the case may be. Rotary is different, and we have a proven track record of folks that are very active in their communities that want to come to an international convention, learn lots, meet new people, and then go back to their homes and their home countries in order to spread Rotary in their home countries. And so it's a big deal. It's a big issue, but we've done what we believe is what we can do, considering all the rules that we need to follow.
Do you know, is there still plan for a one-day ticketed option for House of Friendship for non-convention registrants?
Yes. So when you go to the registration, there is an opportunity to sign up for the Saturday for a House of Friendship pass only for that one day.
Okay, perfect. And I think there's only one more question in the chat, so I'm just going to make a comment. If anyone else listening has any questions, now is your opportunity to get them into the chat or the Q&A so we can get them answered by Craig and Mark. But I think this is a House of Friendship question related as well. What about a large wall to display projects completed in our district?
So the House of Friendship is still a work in progress. One of the things that we are thinking about is how we can take the projects throughout the district. We've had a lot of calls from individual clubs saying, I want to highlight this project or that project. I don't know that we're going to be going down that road. If we can have an opportunity to showcase what's happening in our district and the history, then that's something that we're definitely going to investigate. But ultimately, the House of Friendship is under the control of Rotary International. I mean, we do have, we're active in the sales, and we're at booth sales, and we're in charge of all of the entertainment and all of the experiential things that go around that. And there's going to be some really, really neat things that are happening. Glenn Potter is putting together a great entertainment program. But a lot of these things we can put out to Rotary International. We have, but ultimately it's not necessarily our decision as far as what's going to be happening.
And does the host hospitality fee defray any of our small club costs?
No.
What?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, the fee that gets paid by the registrant, it basically subsidizes the transportation for the buses. So that would be any events over 50 people. If somebody's having an event in their home, the hosts are responsible for picking up and dropping off their guests at the hotels, and preparing the meal and hosting the dinner, and the cost of associated with that. The cost, the fee that people pay just goes towards the busing, which is very, very, it's not an inexpensive cost, because with supply and demand, they're going to be pulling buses from all over the province to support this event, and it's not cheap.
Maybe can you just remind attendees of, because I know there's lots of work being done behind the scenes on the 4 signature events, maybe just what they are and where they are and what's happening at those 4 events.
Sure. Do you want to take that, Mark? Or do you want me to?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So basically, it's all going to kick off on June the 21st, when we're having our Grandstand Spectacular down at Stampede Park. One of the things that we are very, very fortunate to have in Calgary is that all of our events, with the exception of one, is going to be held on Stampede Park campus. So we're very fortunate in that once we get people down here, we can defer costs and transportation issues by having everybody. So the grandstand spectacular is on June the 21st. So one of the things that if you're having out of town guests that are going to be coming in, or you're talking to anybody in the district, make sure that they come for that event. On June 22nd, which is the Sunday, we're having two events. One is New Blood with the Calgary Civic Symphony, and that's going to be held at the Jubilee Auditorium. And that's the one event that is not being held on Stampede Park, but of course it's right on the C train station or line, the north line. And that same night, we're having an event at the Big Four Roadhouse, which is the upstairs of the Big Four, and that's going to be called Rocking the Big Four, and that's going to be a great event. Mark Ambrose and his team are putting together. June 23rd is Host Hospitality Night, so that's the Monday. And then on the 24th is the Western Ranch Showcase, which is going to be held down at Stampede Park again in the Nutrient Center. And it's not a rodeo. It's going to be a Western event. There's going to be lots of demonstration of trick riding, and I think there's going to be some bowls, and it's going to be a really neat event. So over and above that, Mark, his team, it's looking for some of the experiential events as well. Like I say, we're in the process of investigating some Stampede breakfasts and Rope Square type experiential events and that sort of thing. So we're going to be keeping people busy right from the time they leave to the time from the time they arrive to the time they leave.
Perfect. Thanks, Craig. And last question, will there be programs for spouses, partners that will not be attending the convention?
There will be, as we get closer, there'll be a few things to take advantage maybe on some half-day tours or organizing folks to go to the zoo or whatnot, or maybe a shopping tour. But the philosophy has always been from our HOC from day one is that we wanted to encourage spouses and partners to join. And we know there's a cost to do so. So on one hand, it is expensive to sign up. But on the other hand, one of the things that we're trying to do is to really make for an immersive experience. We're having everything down on the campus with our signature events with the House of Friendship and things like that. And so I would say right now, limited. There will be limited opportunities or additional programming for spouses and partners.
Perfect. And I just copied a comment from Robert Lampert into the chat for everyone to see. I guess there's a Jim Davidson event on June the 26th at the University of Calgary. So pay attention for information on that.
Yeah. Bob Lampert, for those of you who don't know, wrote the book on the life and times, and I have it over my shoulder. I could pull it out if I was on camera without the background. One of the most knowledgeable James Wheeler Davidson luminaries in our district and around the world. And maybe I know we're at the end of it, so let me just start or finish off, Rob, in terms of thank you. Once again, thank you. I mean, to have close to 100 people, I think we were at the height of this, not to mention all those that will listen on the YouTube page and things like that. We'll do this again. We are committed to continuing to provide information. Thank you for your attendance on this call. Thank you for all your questions. And just as importantly, thank you for all of our volunteers, the folks that have signed up on a variety of committees, whether it be sponsorship or promotions or home hospitality or signature events. It is taking a large number of people to put on what is our goal, is to remind people of why they felt in 1996 that then was the best ever convention to happen in Rotary in 1996 in Calgary. We're going to remind them that in 2025, for the next 30 years, people, whenever we travel as Rotarians around the world, they're going to talk about Calgary in 2025 as being one of the most memorable and successful conventions. Craig, any asks of this group?
Well, the only ask really is that if you haven't signed up to either participate in the convention or volunteer, like I say, I really, really encourage you to do that. When I joined Rotary back in 2007, I remember I was told, they said, okay, you join Rotary when you know, as soon as you sign up and start coming to the club, but you really truly become a Rotarian once you attend an international convention. And I tell you, it's when you attend these events, it really hits home as far as the reach that Rotary has. You know, it's one thing to say, oh yeah, we have 1.2, 1.3 million members and 35,000 clubs and those types of things. But when you are walking through and talking to people from Africa and Asia and Europe and learning about what they're doing on the ground, and you see the people that are
He almost made it through without
Oh.
freezing. We were joking
Almost
about
made it
this
through.
earlier.
we
So
are
close.
a very big event.
You froze, Craig.
Just like polio plus, we were this close. This
Exactly.
close.
Yeah.
So I just want to say two thank yous as well before we sign off. I want to say thank you. Rick said it as well, but I was going to mention it. Thank you to all the club champions. We know the information is getting to the clubs, but the three of us, Craig, Mark, and myself, we still wanted to just offer this district-wide webinar. So, but thank you to all the club champions for all of the work that you've been doing. And I just wanted to say thank you to Craig and Mark, because this has been years in the waiting. We know how much work you are all doing in the background. So thank you for all of your work to make this the event it's going to be.
Appreciate it, Robin. Thank you for moderating and hosting and organizing this yet again.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, have a great night. And this will be posted on the YouTube page for your dissemination. Thank you.
Thanks.